This is how you turn basically big stacks of bulk in your collection into reserve list staples and cards you actually want to own. Now, I've talked about this on here before, but as I am in the middle of doing another big one, I thought I would actually walk you through the process of how to use a buy list to turn your chaff and bulk and rares you don't want into cards you actually want to own. So to varying degrees, almost every Magic player's collection is mostly comprised of crap. Whether you've been playing for a long time, or whether most of the stuff that you've been getting is like recent brand new sets. Either way, most of what's in your collection is not premium stuff. It's not the stuff you're looking for your favorite commander deck. It's not the collectible cards you want to put on a slab, or even just those iconic cards you want to have in your favorite deck. It's mostly rares that are worth like 20 or 30 cents and a whole bunch of crappy commons and foils you get from the one collector pack you open or whatever. Enter the buy list at Card Kingdom. Now, you can use lots of buy lists. Whether we're talking Card Kingdom, Star City Games, Cool Stuff Inc., there's lots and lots of buy lists. But the one thing that Card Kingdom has going for it that the others don't is that as well as their retails being generally higher than all of the competition by 30%, their buy list prices are also significantly higher. And on top of that, most importantly, because they're such a large store, they buy almost everything. Now, they might pay you 6 cents or 12 cents or 30 cents, but they're still gonna give you money for almost every card. And in my experience, no Magic player really wants to sell their staples. Nobody wants to sell Shocks and Fetches. Nobody really wants to sell a Shieldred or get rid of a Wheel of Fortune that they've had since they were a kid. They want to move the cards that aren't worth much that they don't use very often. And most buy lists don't offer prices on those cards because they're hard to sell. So I started going through my collection and basically stacking up all of the what I see as kind of unplayable rares, commons, uncommons, just things that are not very expensive, and buy listing them for 10 cents, 15 cents, 30 cents, 60 cents, whatever I can find. I do this about once a quarter. Because if Card Kingdom will give me 32 cents for a card, it probably means the retail on that card is less than $1, right? And those commons, uncommons, and most specifically rares tend to be ones that you open a bunch of copies of in a booster box, or you get a couple copies of in a draft. They don't make your commander deck. They're not even the cool version you actually want for your commander deck, so you just end up having a couple of them sitting in a box somewhere. If you hold on to those stacks of cards for long enough, they do start to stack up. And finally, the thing that Card Kingdom offers that's the most important is this store credit bonus of 30%. Finally, the last detail that I focus on is the condition comparison thing. So here's a revised Taiga, right? You look for a decent verified seller, $250, shipping included on TCG Player. That's the low. You want to look for VG, which is basically the same thing as moderately played, because Card Kingdom overprices their near mint stuff. And what I found is if you look for those staple reserve list cards, you'll start to find certain cards have a smaller and smaller disparity, right? Maybe 10%, maybe 6% in the difference of cost of TCG low and the equivalent cost of the equivalent condition on Card Kingdom. But without a doubt, the most important detail is that 2,000 of these maybe are worth one of these. But I'm always going to be able to sell one of these for actually a hard price. Whereas I'm just not going to be able to really get any money for like a Bramble Familiar or, you know, a Borderless Blind Obedience that's worth like $1, or Borderless Broodmate Dragon or Tyrant or whatever that card is, or Quasi-Duplicate, you know? It's certainly not to say that Quasi-Duplicate or any of those cards aren't playable or worth something, because they are worth something. And if you want to buy a copy of one of those cards, you'll find one of them on TCG Player for like $1.50. And it'll probably be the actual cool printing and edition that you specifically want for your deck, not the one that you happen to open in a draft. It's also not lost on me that like everybody accumulates cards at a different speed, but I promise you, whether you buy a commander deck, end up using it as a precon, end up playing 6 or 7 of the cards from that deck in another deck and putting the rest in a box somewhere, we've all got that kind of bulk chaff to some degree. And if you hold on to it long enough, there's a way to turn it into actual staple stuff that doesn't go down in value, stuff that's not affected by reprints, and stuff that you will actually be able to get dollars or trade value in a significant way out of eventually. So that's my lesson for the day. It's what I've been doing about every 3 months, and that's how my collection continues to grow at its core, and I just get rid of the frills as often as I can.